Well, greetings, imagination connoisseurs. Once again, it is I, your Duke of Dope Discourse, your master of fun and wonder, your viceroy of verisimilitude, and as John Campea calls me, your existential Mr. Rogers, Robert Meyer Burnett, and this is the John Campea Show Mailbag for Wednesday, June 1st. As you know, during the John Campea Show, we open up the Super Chats, and you can fire off your questions and comments, and we will read them live on the air. But if you miss doing that, anytime, day or night, 7 days a week, our operators are standing by. You can go to the link right down below, and you can send us a tip, comment, question, review us, tell us about your pets. I don't know, anything. And if we deem your comments appropriate, we will read them here on the Mailbag. And to that end, we're going to start right now with Nicholas Alexander Burke, who says, "Hey, John, you and the team always help me through the workday, and you all have helped inspire me to make my own YouTube channel. I've been a subscriber since the AMC days. It's been great seeing your evolution and being a part of this journey." Nicholas, I love hearing you say that. We very much appreciate hearing that. I love the fact that, it's great to know that our own YouTube endeavors inspire the creativity in other people. I don't think that there's a better compliment that you can pay us. So I want to thank you for that, and congratulations on your YouTube channel. And Nicholas, congratulations on actually coming up with something, thinking about it, and executing on that plan. That creativity is great. Doesn't it feel good? Well done. Keep us abreast of your progress. I'd love to hear about how your own channel is growing. Thank you so much. Callum sends in a tip and says, "Hey, John and Rob." Well, hello. "My favorite TV show of all time is Lost. My favorite part about the show was the cliffhangers that are still legendary now. What was your favorite part about the show? And do you think the show will come back?" I have mixed feelings about Lost. I was so into it. I was a little disappointed in the resolution of Lost. But, I can't complain. I mean, I love like the episode The Constant when they started introducing those things. My whole thing is that I really wish I felt that the creators of the show knew where they were going. I would like to have felt a little bit more of that, but I really liked it. I mean, so many intriguing ideas. I'm going to tell you something. Since you asked about Lost, here was my theory about what the island was. The island to me was God's thumbprint on his creation of the earth. And to arrive on the island was your experience there, whatever it was. If you got off the island, it was a crucible designed to forge you into the kind of human being you needed to be to help push along our species. So once you'd had time on the island and you were able to get off, you somehow achieved some kind of insight or knowledge that would serve you. And as you moved out into the world throughout the rest of humanity, you would have something to offer to push the human civilization forward. At least that was my cockamamie idea about what it was. Your mileage may vary. Jerome, hello, Jerome sends in a tip and says, "What is the true definition of something being forced into a movie or a TV show or a story? Like, for example, that a message was forced or that diversity was forced into a narrative and overall people believing that forcing ruins a story." Jerome, that's a good question. In my mind, here's the thing. Obviously, we've lived in a world where certain people throughout history, depending on who was on top, have controlled what the lives of the rest of us are like. And I think it's always better. My philosophy of life is that every single person has a story to tell that you have yet to hear. And all you have to do is listen. So I think the more diverse the voices that we have telling stories, and I mean diverse by all kinds of people, young, old, people from every nationality, LGBTQ, every color, BIPOC people, anybody who has a voice that brings their experience into their work is worth listening to, because every single person is somebody I don't walk in their shoes, and I don't know what it's like to live their lives. And if they can make great art or tell me a great story that gives me insight into them, well, I think that's the most amazing thing in the world. However, I do think that we are going through a period of overcompensation now where everybody wants to make sure that everyone is heard. And sometimes my philosophy is you have to serve your characters and your story first. And that means that I don't think you should put your messaging before your characters and your story. The message that you want to tell, whatever that message may be, should be built into the narrative. And I think sometimes people, they're trying to make their stories more relevant. They're trying to maybe give people a voice, but sometimes they overcompensate and they force ideas, they force certain kinds of actors into stories that maybe don't necessarily need them. Or it becomes obtrusive, where if you're thinking more about the character in terms of their traits, whether, like, if you gender swap, if you take a character that was traditionally a male character and make them female, sometimes it works really well. Like in the James Bond franchise, I loved when Judi Dench was the new M and replaced the old M. And you know what was great about that was because then it became a commentary on Bond himself when Judi Dench says, "You're a sexist, misogynist dinosaur, a product of the Cold War." Now, in GoldenEye in 1995, when that happened, I was like, yes, I love the frisson between the two of them and what it meant. And the meta commentary on Bond made sense, didn't seem forced. And that's the kind of thing that I really love. And to me, that was a great gender swap that actually added to the story. And I think, though, that sometimes that could be done in such a way where it does feel forced. It feels like, well, they needed more women in these roles, so they'll just change something. Dr. Kynes in Dune, I thought another great change to the story. Because Dr. Kynes' his gender, sex, I mean, Chani's father, now it's Chani's mother or whatever. I thought that was a really good swap. And I thought the character of Dr. Kynes is also well served to be a female. And I thought that worked. And even though Dr. Kynes was played by Max von Sydow in David Lynch's version, and in Denis Villeneuve's version, it was played by a very beautiful black woman who played Dr. Kynes, race and gender swap, didn't have a problem with it. It felt like it fit right into the world. But those are good examples, and I think that they can they can do the opposite. But sometimes, it needs a deft hand. Like anything else, you've got to have great creators that really know what they're doing. Because when it works, it works. And I think Dame Judi Dench playing M in the Bond films is a perfect example. Chef Nate says, there are two things in the world I can't stand: people who are intolerant of other people's cultures and the Gungans. Yeah, I've been hearing that a lot, which I like. I think that's very funny. I agree. I'm not a fan of, I'm a fan of people, of all kinds of people from everywhere. I don't like intolerance. My parents, when I was growing up, my parents never had a bad word to say about anyone. And my dad genuinely loved all kinds of people. He delighted in meeting people from anywhere and everywhere and all shapes, sizes, color, and creeds. My dad loved everybody. And he would talk your ear off. Cool Kid 260 sends in a tip and says, do you think by Disney having a Disney Plus day right before the D23 Expo means that we will not get a Disney Plus panel at D23, or that the panel will be more like the Walt Disney Pictures panel, in which viewers who attend get to see exclusive footage or clips? No, I think the D23 Expo I think they're going to work in tandem. That's what I would think, that they're going to accentuate each other. At least that's what I'd like to believe. I don't think they want to shortchange anybody going to D23. Don't think they would. Blake says, saw Top Gun Maverick over the weekend, and I'll say I can recall a film leaving me more satisfied. Oh, wait, hang on. I went too far, Blake. Let me start that again, Blake. Saw Top Gun Maverick over the weekend, and I'll say I can't recall a film leaving me more satisfied with my theatrical experience than this one. The entire thing was done with such care, passion, and tact. Yes, tact. So well done. It made me very happy. Well, you know what? Totally agree with you, Blake. I went and saw it again in IMAX over the weekend. I took Elizabeth, and she loved it. We loved it. What a great time at the movies. It's what movies are all about. It's why you go, right? Loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it so much. And it was incredibly satisfying, especially in IMAX. Boy, it was great. It was great. Loved it. Totally agree.
Hey guys, we want to take a second to thank the sponsor of this video, Athletic Greens. Now, when you get really busy, and you guys know that Ann and I are really busy, one of the first things you sacrifice is eating healthy. And you know, I simply have never eaten enough vegetables in my diet, I admit it. So for a long time, I've been looking for a really good all-in-one supplement that helps me get those nutrients and vitamins that my body needs. And thank goodness I found Athletic Greens AG1. So what is Athletic Greens AG1? Well, with one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, and probiotics to help you start your day right. And for me and Ann, it's easy. We get up in the morning, we pour a big glass of water and add one scoop of AG1. So many people today are taking some kind of multivitamin, and it's important to choose one with high quality ingredients that your body will actually absorb. And it's cheaper than getting all those different supplements yourself. And on top of giving you all those vitamins and nutrients, it also supports better sleep and quality of recovery and supports mental clarity and alertness. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just one scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/mailbag. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/mailbag to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance.
Samweiser Gamgee sends in a tip and says, "Hi guys, primarily for John." John's not here. I know you're no longer a fan of physical media, so I'm curious as to how you watch the original Star Wars. I don't think it's available in the digital streaming landscape. As Rob would say, I have a DVD I could loan you. Bring on the filthy. That's a good question. I mean, it is streaming. The original Star Wars is harder to find, though. There are people who have done restorations of the original versions of the 77 Star Wars, the 80 Empire, and the 83 Return of the Jedi. Now, I'm not saying I have those, but if you can find those, there's a number of different ones. They're pretty interesting. I can't watch the special editions of Star Wars. So I have files of all these. No, I will not make them for you, so don't ask. But that's how I watch the original versions of Star Wars. I don't know how John does, though. I would imagine streaming on Disney+. Jerome says, what do you think is the right and wrong way for actors or creators to respond to negative criticism from fans? For example, should they have to apologize to fans or should they ignore fans? And in what ways are fans right and wrong? Well, that's a very good question. Look, as a filmmaker myself, I have always believed that you do not answer the fans. You don't answer criticism. You allow your work to stand up for itself. Because what happens is it's a slippery slope. When you go down and you start answering your critics, you're opening a door. And that's what they want you to do. They want you to open that door so they can come after you. I don't dig that. I don't like that when that happens. And I would prefer if it didn't. But I think sometimes, look, if you're getting personal attacks, again, people that are willing to personally attack actors, actresses, filmmakers, artists online, they want to get a rise out of you. And the old adage, don't feed the trolls, is probably the best adage. And, you know, in terms of whether fans are right or wrong, look, we live in a world where George Lucas, when he first made Star Wars, the original Star Wars only opened in 38 theaters. 20th Century Fox didn't even know if it was going to be a hit. They didn't think it was. George Lucas famously lit off to Hawaii with Steven Spielberg, didn't even know if it was going to work or not. And surprisingly, it became a giant hit. Fox had to scramble to get enough prints in theaters so they could make all the money they could make off Star Wars. But the thing is, I think now the real problem with a lot of our franchises is that they are owned by corporate entities. Star Wars was the product of the vision of one man, George Lucas, and all of his collaborators, whether it was his wife Marcia or Gary Kurtz and all the people, the actors and all the great technicians at ILM. I mean, they had to create ILM. And I think now with corporate interests, and when you have a brand like Disney, Disney is only going to allow a certain kind of story to be told in a certain way because it has to serve its brand. That is not conducive to great storytelling. And I think fans are responding to that. The stories that we're getting aren't as good as they should be. And it's not Kathleen Kennedy's fault. It's the fact that Disney has a corporate agenda and they adhere to it. So there's nothing really, I mean, are fans right and wrong? I think fans have to understand that's where we're at when it comes to big franchises that are owned by corporations. Are they wrong to lash out at actresses or actors that are just doing the job they're hired for? Yeah, I think they are. I think fans need to do better, and I think they need to understand the situation. Mars Attacks sends in a $20 tip. Thank you so much, Mars Attacks. John, I appreciate what you said, RE, the toxic Star Wars fandom. For what it's worth, even if you lose 1,000 toxic fans, you gained one loyal follower. Mars Attacks, I have to say, I had stuff I wanted to talk about on that topic, but I really appreciate John's channel. I thought John was very eloquent, and, he said what I think a lot of us would say. But look, I agree with you. I think that one of the great things about YouTube communities when you're on them for a long time is people get to know you. And I think when people get to know you, you might say things that they disagree with, but they know and respect you, so they'll come back. It's about having a community and a dialogue. And I really agree with you when you say that that one loyal fan is worth 1,000 toxic fans. I agree. I mean, I think that the whole point is to create a community where we can have a back and forth. And if people aren't willing to have that, it's not a community. And it's not good. Chloe Fanning says 180s sequel I would love to see would be Kevin Bacon's Quicksilver, the bike movie. I think he's a bike messenger in that. The movie could see Kevin Bacon losing everything, moving back to the city with his daughter, now becoming a bike messenger, using the Reddit stalk incident as a third act in the movie. I saw Quicksilver in the theater. I kind of liked it. That was a good Kevin Bacon performance. Look, to be all honest with you, I don't think that Quicksilver would burn up the box office charts. I don't think it's one of those movies that rolls off the tongue when you think about your favorite 80s films. But hey, I mean, you know what? Kudos to you for putting that forward, because not a bad idea. Korea Got Soul sends in a tip and says, "Hey, John or Rob, it's me. The Hollywood Reporter have just stated that there will be a True Detective Season 4. I cannot wait. I love True Detective Season 1 and 3. I agree. But not only that, it's also been reported that they have in their first actor, which is Jodie Foster, perfect. Korea Got Soul, I'm with you. Perfection. I love Jodie Foster. I have since I saw her in Candle Shoe, which predated Taxi Driver, I believe. And, of course, if I ever met Jodie Foster, I'd tell her how much of a Contact fan I am, in addition to things like Taxi Driver. Yeah, I can't wait. Jodie Foster, can you imagine if she's playing a detective? She's going down back deep into veteran Clarice Starling mode. Dude, I am so there for that. I am in. Count me in. I think it's great. I'm glad you're as excited as I am, because I was excited when I heard that. Anthony sends in a tip and says, in regards to She-Hulk, my wet dream, oh, come on, man. My wet dream would be if somehow Abomination is let loose and causes chaos, and he badly injures She-Hulk, and in seeing his cousin lay helplessly, it triggers Bruce to turn back into Rage Hulk, bro. I wish they had you writing that script, because I would watch that. Abomination versus the Hulk. Yes, please, a rematch. Bring it on. You know what? I'm there for you. I think it's a great idea. Could be a great episode or a whole series. Bring that on. I don't think that's what we're going to get, Anthony. But that doesn't mean it's not awesome. 2 + 2 = 5 sends in a tip and says, hey, John and crew, I saw the first 2 episodes of Kenobi, and I can see why Disney decided to release 2 episodes back-to-back. The first episode was a snooze, while the second was better. Do you think Disney lacked confidence in the first episode being good? No, I don't. I think that they just wanted to give more of the story. I think there might be a little bit. I didn't think it was a snooze. I thought it was really interesting. But, it's all set up pretty much. And I think they might want to have livened up the party. So I don't think you're necessarily wrong that they wanted. That's why they released 2. I think you have a pretty good idea there. I would tend to agree with you. I would say yes, absolutely. But I do think that the first episode was not a snooze. I thought it was world building, and I quite liked it. Motassim sends in a tip and says, how do TV age ratings work? I ask because season 4 of Stranger Things has some of the bloodiest, goriest scenes I've seen. No spoilers. Scenes with blood squibs from gunshots, a certain person waking up drenched in blood, yet it's only TV-14. How? You know how? Okay, here's how it is. Even though the violence is extreme in Stranger Things, it's fantasy violence. It's violence brought on by monsters, creatures. I mean, if you know what I'm talking about, and I'm sure you do, that's clearly not something that's going to happen in real life. So it's not emulating something that could actually happen. And I think that's where they draw the line. If it was more realistic, the violence was more visceral, more real, in your face, they would give it a higher rating. But I think that's how they do that. That's how they do that. And our final question, this is a short mailbag today. Our final question, Blake comes in with the tip and says, Palpatine was calling Anakin Darth Vader before his injuries that required him to wear the suit. So shouldn't have pretty much the entire Empire known who Vader was? I've always found that inconsistent. Well, Blake, I mean, I look at it this way. Were they around a lot of people? Were there people listening in when Palpatine and Vader? I always kind of saw their relationship as being rather intimate. So you didn't really get a sense of, they weren't like talking. It wasn't known yet. And I don't think it ever would have been known. I mean, of course, before Anakin became suited Darth Vader, Sidious called him Darth Vader. But I honestly think that it was just not common knowledge, and they didn't allow. It's just like nobody. I mean, people knew Count Dooku, but that's because you saw his face. And I think that once Anakin became Vader, I just don't think people really knew. It was really, I think it's supposed to be a secret. I really do. And on that note, we're done. We're done. It's a short mailbag today, and that's okay. We'll be back tomorrow because we're doing mailbags every day. Remember, if you watch the John Campea Show live, you can fire in super chats after we're done with the daily topics. We leave it open for a couple minutes until they fill up, and then we will always answer your questions live on the air that day. But 24/7, 7 days a week, you can ask us questions, fire in queries. They're the same thing, questions and queries. You can make comments. You can review our performance, anything you want. And if we deem them appropriate, we will read them here on these mailbags. Sometimes you get, like yesterday, you got John and I. It was what a love fest that was. How much fun was that, right? I had so much fun doing that with John. He even let me host. He let me take point, which was great. But you can see down in the description that you can fire one off to us. And remember, well, I was going to say wherever you go, there you are. If you're Buckaroo Banzai fans, you know that. If not, I just want to say, remember, we very much appreciate your support and the questions you send in. You support the channel, and you give us great things to talk about. My name is Robert Meyer Burnett. You can find me on Instagram at RMBurnett. Find me on Twitter at BurnettRM. Find me on my own YouTube channel, The Post Geek Singularity, or go to the website, postgeeksingularity.com. You can even send me letters there if you want. And that will do it for this mailbag for June 1st. I am your Duke of Dope Discourse, your Master of Fun and Wonder, and your Viceroy of Verisimilitude.